Above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid are 5 further chambers. And these chambers are roofed and floored with granite beams that weigh about 70 tons each. And there are hundreds of them. And these 70-ton granite beams, which to put in context, a 70-ton beam is equivalent in weight to 35 large SUVs. These 70-ton granite beams have been elevated to a height of more than 350 feet above the ground and carefully and precisely placed in position. It is very hard for archaeologists to explain how that was done using purely leverage and mechanical advantage. You can say, oh, perhaps they built a ramp and hauled the stones up the ramp. But then you have to confront basic laws of physics. You can't haul a stone weighing tens of tons up a slope that exceeds 10 degrees. Then you start doing the calculation. How long a ramp do I need with a 10-degree slope to get to 350 feet above the ground? And the answer is you need a fucking long ramp, which should still be there. Yeah. Because it couldn't have been a sand ramp. It would have collapsed under the weight of those stones. It had to be as massive as the pyramid itself. So this begins to seem like an absurd idea, the idea that is foisted on us by archaeology. Maybe the idea that they regard as absurd, namely that psychic powers were cultivated by ancient civilizations, that they could use powers of the human mind that we have allowed to lapse. Maybe that idea deserves further consideration. We have gone down a path of leverage and mechanical advantage. We're used to relying on machines, but we hear anecdotal reports of people who have telekinetic powers, who can move things with their minds, of people who have telepathic powers. And our automatic reaction is to just dismiss all of that.
Because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. In fact, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far.
You have a very fascinating hypothesis as to what the pyramid, or theory, as to what the pyramid actually was. And it's based on where the supposed King's Chamber is, where those passages go through into it. And what do you think that thing was?
Well, my first book pretty much describes what I thought it was in 1998, which was a power plant. The book is entitled The Giza Power Plant. My second book has evolved, and I describe it as an electron harvester. So, it's kind of like, you could describe it as both, but in today, when you do, people in any decade, they think of a power plant and they see these huge chimneys with smokestacks
or a nuke plant.
Yeah, or a nuke plant. A power plant, dirty, nasty, unclean. But an electron harvester, clean, pollution-free, not a problem.
Has that been achieved conventionally? I mean, today, is there a thing called an electron harvester?
I think that actually, when you look at a generator, that's an electron harvester, because we don't create electrons, we just harvest them. It's just how we do it. And so, when you say an electron harvester, you could say that, say a wind you have a windmill, and you have a generator inside it, and then you're collecting electrons off the commutator in a generator.
And that's where the electricity comes from.
And that's your electricity.
Right. Or hydroelectric, you'd use the flow of the water.
Yeah, you don't create you just release them.
You harvest it from a process.
You harvest them through a process.
If you follow information about humankind, you find out that in all parts of history, people were coming to this region for their information and their knowledge and their things that were forbidden, and these were not these were the highest of human civilization.
But not even comparable to anyone else.
No.
Nor since. Nor
Now
since.
or, yeah,
Nor since.
right.
The
And-
Great Pyramid of Giza is insane.
Right. Like,
It's insane.
like even Tesla says that this is where he came to get the information. But if you follow that information pathway, it leads you to this character called Thoth, right? And the emerald tablets of Thoth are literally mind-changing and mind-blowing, just because you understand when this was written and the terminology being used is
When was it written?
far too accurate for now.
Science regards consciousness as local to the brain and doesn't see how it can exert itself outside of that. But maybe we should open up to those possibilities, that we're dealing with a very different kind of culture that used techniques that we have allowed to lapse. And maybe we could wake those techniques up again. Maybe the ability of human beings to do almost superhuman things is resident within all of us, but sleeping.
Well, it's pure speculation that they use some sort of a telekinetic power, but it's
Pure
absolute.
speculation.
But it's absolute that they did something that we don't understand. If you think about the distance between us and the construction, just the modern accepted construction dates of the Great Pyramid, it's more than 5,000 years ago, or close to 5,000 years ago.
Great Pyramid is
2,000.
supposed to be about 4,500
Yeah.
years old, yeah.
That's really old.
It's incredibly
It's like,
old, yeah.
To think that someone back then could do something that would perplex us today
Yeah.
with modern machinery.
Yeah.
And that somehow or another they figured this out. It's almost like what they had done was leave behind something that was so stupendous, so monstrously impressive that it would transcend time.
Yeah.
And that you would have to look at it even thousands and thousands of years later and say, hey, like this defies
Yes.
conventional explanation. This is not a simple, and I've seen some of the conventional explanations of the construction of the pyramid, and they conveniently neglect those chambers above the king's chamber.
They do.
They conveniently neglect a lot of those massive stones.
Yeah.
And it's because it's one of those things you just go, oh, I don't know. And the process that you think they used in the Great Pyramid involved those shafts?
It involves a lot of things. Yeah, it's not just one single thing, it's a system.
So these names, the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber, you don't think that that's actually a King's Chamber or Queen's Chamber? You think it's something else?
Well, out of respect to the Egyptians,
Call it what they say
call
it
them
is.
that, yeah.
Okay.
But I do have a different terminology for them as they function.
Now, the initial surface of the Great Pyramid is covered in smooth limestone, right? So it's polished and shiny, and apparently it would collect insane amounts of light.
The outer surface of the Great Pyramid mostly is missing, and,
Right.
but it has been described as if it was finished, and depending on the polish that it received, yeah, it could reflect a lot of light.
Do you think that had something to do with the design of this power plant?
I don't think there's any part of that pyramid that did not serve a practical function.
Okay, so this is the image that you have here, and what
Right.
this image shows us is the King's Chamber, the various shafts, the southern shaft, the northern shaft, and these shafts have been described as portals to stars because people have looked up through there, and you go through the shaft, you see stars, but what you're saying is something entirely different. What do you think these shafts were for?
Well, I think they serve two different purposes. Actually, four different purposes, if you will, because in the theory that I propose, which is, I don't know, it's a speculation, a theory. Well, the whole process is kind of like a heuristic process where you're grabbing information, you're moving here. It doesn't matter what source you're getting it from.
Right.
Because when you are looking for answers, you look everywhere. You try and find, you look everywhere. So when I was going through the process of like trying to figure it out, I was collecting information from everywhere.
There are the chambers
is,
above the king's chambers, and each one of those floors consists of a row of 70-ton granite blocks that have been raised 350 feet above the ground. And not only that, but brought from Aswan in the south of Egypt, 500 kilometers south of the Great Pyramid. So
if there's any time in history where you could go in a time machine and go back and observe, would that be the time?
I am just completely fascinated by the Ice Age at the moment.
If you had one shot to go back and see what it was like in some place, you wouldn't go to the construction of the Great Pyramids?
I think right now where I'd go is 12,800 years ago in the beginning of the Younger Dryas.
Just to see.
Because I think that's where the whole human story changes. I think that's where we change tracks from one path to another path. And following those cataclysmic events of the Younger Dryas between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago, following those, the signs of civilization that we see emerging are not the beginnings of civilization. They're a restarting of civilization that had existed before the cataclysm. And for that reason, I would like to be present.
For the southern shaft and the northern shaft of the Queen's Chamber, that was a huge mystery to me, and I tried to fit it into what were they doing? I mean, if you look at the details, the facts of their design and what the ancient Egyptians were doing, why they designed them that way, you have two conduits coming into a chamber, but they're not connected to the chamber. And we didn't even know they existed until 1872 for Wayman Dixon.
Can you show me that image again, please? So they're coming into the chamber, but they don't enter into the chamber. So they stop.
Their original design had the shafts ending 5 inches before coming into the chamber. So you had like 5 inches of limestone that was left in the block.
So did someone remove that limestone?
Yes.
Why did they do that?
Wayman Dixon, because they were examining the chamber and they were poking around. And Wayman Dixon, it is reported, so the legend goes, noticed a crack in the wall. And so he took a rod and pushed it through the crack. And the rod, it didn't meet any resistance, it kept going. So he had his worker come in, Bill Grundy, with a hammer and chisel, and say, chisel the limestone around that.
God, people are stupid. So,
well, they didn't have ultrasonic thickness test.
No, but still, goddamn, to have the arrogance to go and chip away at the pyramid because you're curious.
Look at how advanced. You know, I don't care for revisionist historians because you have to consider what people were doing, their mindset in the day, and then I try to look at on the bright side, right? It's like I don't look at it as a negative thing because if somebody hadn't opened up those shafts, we wouldn't know about them.
Right.
And it's the same with the chambers above the King's Chamber. Without Howard Vyse and his military expedition blasting his way up into the pyramid, we wouldn't know about them either.
If there was any logical explanation that people could have done it, I would be on board. I'd be like, okay.
But there aren't any people saying that.
Human beings it's possible if you had enough power and you had enough engineering and mathematics that you could figure out how to design and construct the pyramid.
Yes.
But then the logistical problem of getting the stones from hundreds of miles away, massive, several ton, up to 80-ton stones.
Joe.
That's crazy.
If
500 miles away, some of them.
Even if you could do it, let me ask you this. Would you build it on sand?
I don't think it was originally sand. See, that's the thing.
Right. This was a fertile valley.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Right.
The Nile Valley. That was the reason
they had
why they
electric and Wi-Fi, and they had all of that.
They probably did. And that's probably where the Younger Dryas impact theory comes in.
The greatest trick is to make us believe that people back then were dumber and we're smarter.
Right.
And that whole thing is a fallacy.
Yeah, that's definitely not real.
But it's worth it for us to believe that.
I think we are the children of the survivors of some great catastrophe. And I think that's why every single
Not
ancient
everybody.
biblical scholar, what?
Not everybody. Some people
What do you mean?
are that.
Some people are the survivors?
Right.
Well, I mean, most human beings probably got wiped out in comet storms. And I think we probably got, there's been points in history that they know of where human beings got down to like 7,000 people. If these shafts came through and then they met limestone at the end, what do you think was going on?
In order to answer that question, I had to look at the rest of the pyramid, okay? What was it doing? And how was it functioning? And so one of the key pieces of evidence that I used to propose a process that was going on is the northern shaft. And the northern shaft has dimensions and has an appearance that is similar to a waveguide that you would use for microwaves. And the dimensions of it would approximate the wavelength of hydrogen.
So, explain a waveguide. How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a waveguide is to transmit microwaves, electromagnetic energy, in the microwave region, and it is passed more efficiently through like a tube or waveguide. And that's what they use. I mean, they're very complicated systems.
Through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above?
All the above.
Recent discoveries beneath the Great Pyramid may turn what we thought we knew upside down. Scientists investigating the ancient structure have uncovered a staggering 2,000-foot deep megalithic network hidden beneath layers of history. This unexpected find, with endless corridors and massive chambers, offers a glimpse into the mysteries of old Egypt that are even stranger than legends suggest. The shocking revelation has ignited debates among experts and captured the public's imagination, hinting at secrets long buried beneath the desert sands. Enormous hidden structures beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. For many years, people believed the Great Pyramid of Giza was mainly a royal tomb for the pharaoh Khufu. Researchers have often focused on its surface, its alignment with the cardinal directions, and its grand internal passages. However, there is intriguing evidence of something much bigger lurking below. Modern technology, especially LiDAR and advanced ground-penetrating radar, suggests an extensive network of huge underground passages, deep shafts, and connected chambers that stretch for a significant distance beneath the iconic structure. Several studies have indicated that these tunnels plunge hundreds of meters into the bedrock. Some descriptions even mention upwards of 8 or more massive shafts descending in a spiral-like arrangement. At their lowest points, some of these passages lead to large cubic rooms said to measure dozens of meters across. The uniform shape of these underground features suggests they were deliberately planned and not natural caves. Their precise structure has led some people to wonder if they served a special function, rather than being mere storage areas or hidden burial rooms. A few researchers link these underground structures to theories that the Great Pyramid might have had a technological or energy-related purpose. One idea comes from Christopher Dunn, who wrote about the possibility of the pyramid being a giant power plant that could harness natural vibrations or resonances. Although mainstream scholars are cautious about these ideas, they highlight that the exact reasons for building such deep and complicated tunnels have never been completely explained. Traditional views propose that they could be part of religious rites or could have helped with water management. Exploring these chambers has proven difficult because of safety concerns and government restrictions. Even so, scans and limited investigations keep suggesting that we are missing key parts of of the pyramid's design. These discoveries continue to challenge our understanding of ancient Egyptian engineering and spark new discussions about the incredible knowledge that might have existed during Khufu's era. Theories on the purpose of underground chambers. Researchers and enthusiasts have shared various ideas to explain why the builders of the Great Pyramid would dig such elaborate systems below the giant limestone blocks. Some people suggest that these hidden spaces might have been intended for religious or ceremonial uses. Ancient Egyptians placed great importance on the afterlife and often built hidden chambers or passageways to protect sacred objects and ensure safe travel for the spirit of the deceased. This view holds that the vast labyrinth beneath the Great Pyramid could have been a secure zone for spiritual activities, funerary ceremonies, or storage of sacred artifacts. Another theory suggests a practical side, such as managing water. Ancient Egypt relied on the Nile's flood cycle. There are proposals that large underground systems could have helped divert or control groundwater, especially given the complicated relationship between the Nile's rising waters and the foundations of major monuments. If water levels change, special tunnels might have kept the interior of the pyramid dry or prevented structural damage. In this view, the presence of spiral passageways could have been a sophisticated method of guiding and filtering water. A more speculative idea comes from those who think the pyramid could have acted as a giant machine of sorts. Some authors compare it to a resonating chamber that harnessed Earth's vibrations to generate energy. These arguments often reference Nikola Tesla's experiments with resonance or Christopher Dunn's power plant hypothesis. While mainstream archaeologists do not support these claims, the sheer precision of construction and the extensive hidden chambers make it difficult to rule out advanced forms of engineering. Because the underground passages are not fully mapped and researched, conclusive answers remain limited. Some of the deeper sections are unstable or flooded, and local authorities have set rules to protect both tourists and the ancient site. As technology improves, future scans or robotic explorations might give us more data to determine whether these tunnels had a religious, practical, or even more unusual role in the pyramid's design. Water engineering at the Step Pyramid of Giza. Shifting focus from Giza to Saqqara, the Step Pyramid of Giza stands as Egypt's earliest large-scale stone pyramid, built in the 3rd dynasty around 2660 to 2640 BCE. Designed by the visionary official Imhotep, this monument is remarkable for breaking new ground in both materials and architectural style. Previously, Egyptian builders had relied on mud brick mastabas for elite tombs, but Giza's complex featured carefully cut limestone blocks, giving the structure impressive stability across millennia. A more recent theory about the Step Pyramid suggests a surprising use of water. Some researchers think the Egyptians may have known how to use controlled water systems to assist in lifting large stone blocks into place. This view goes beyond the concept of simple ramps and manpower. Instead, it imagines channels, basins, or even a primitive hydraulic lift that took advantage of the Nile's seasonal flooding or artificial water reservoirs. Proponents point to an enclosure wall known as Gisar el-Mudir near the pyramid, which might have functioned as a dam. By redirecting floodwaters, perhaps the site could accumulate enough water to float and maneuver heavy stones on barges or rafts, lessening friction and reducing the workforce needed. Archaeologists have found hints of elaborate chambers and shafts beneath Giza's pyramid, leading some to believe these spaces could have helped with water storage or water manipulation. Although the consensus among many Egyptologists is that ramps remained the main method, the notion of a water-assisted building process adds an interesting dimension to our understanding of Old Kingdom innovation. Saqqara's terrain has changed drastically over thousands of years. Geological shifts, desertification, and changes to the Nile's route all complicate the argument for a large-scale water system. Even so, the possibility remains that Imhotep and his colleagues harnessed nature's power in ways not fully documented in surviving records. The strange stalled project at Zayat el Aryan. Moving forward into the 4th dynasty, we encounter an odd site called Zawiet El Aryan, which contains the remains of an unfinished pyramid. Sometimes known simply as the Unfinished Pyramid, at Zawiet El Aryan, it reveals a massive excavation pit in the bedrock, a deep central shaft, and a partial foundation. Beyond that, there is no upper structure, no outer casing, and no evidence of completion. Archaeologists discovered a large pink granite sarcophagus in the shaft, but the sarcophagus itself was also incomplete. No inscriptions, no carving to indicate who it was meant for. Some experts propose that this pyramid may have been intended for a ruler known as Baka or Bikeris, a lesser documented successor in the lineage between Khafra and Menkaura. Others suggest it was assigned to a different king whose reign ended abruptly. The abrupt discontinuation invites speculation. Was this pyramid abandoned because of a sudden death, political unrest, or economic constraints? Looking at the enormous base and the deep, carefully shaped central shaft, it's clear that a great deal of manpower, time, and resources went into the project up to the point of abandonment. Researchers who have studied the site have found resonance with the typical 4th dynasty building approach: finely cut stone blocks, a clear shape for a future pyramid base, and a method likely tied to ramp construction. Yet with no final product, we can't see how it would have compared in scale or elegance to its Giza counterparts. One of the more intriguing possibilities is that local bedrock conditions or unexpected structural issues led the builders to halt construction. Building a pyramid involves balancing weight distribution and foundation integrity. A severe crack or instability in the rock layers might have made it impossible to continue safely. If so, the site stands as a snapshot of ancient engineering complexities. Mexico's Great Pyramid of Cholula, hidden in plain sight. When people talk about pyramids, Egypt usually takes center stage. However, on the other side of the world, in the Mexican state of Puebla, stands a pyramid that surpasses even the Great Pyramid of Giza in total volume. Called the Great Pyramid of Cholula or Tlachihualtepetl, man-made mountain, it remained hidden for centuries under layers of soil and vegetation. Its gentle slopes and grassy top led the Spanish to believe it was a natural hill, and they built a Catholic church on the summit in the 16th century. Archaeological investigations eventually uncovered that beneath this hill is a massive four-sided pyramid constructed in multiple phases. The earliest layers date back to around the 3rd century BCE, and each subsequent culture added or modified the structure over the centuries. By the time the Aztecs arrived, Cholula was already considered an ancient religious center. Researchers have mapped out roughly 8 kilometers of tunnels that run through the pyramid's interior, revealing intricate murals and altars. Unlike Egyptian pyramids built with massive limestone blocks, Cholula's pyramid used millions of adobe bricks, a mixture of sun-dried mud and straw, layered with stone and covered in stucco. Some sections show paintings of mythological entities and give clues about the ceremonies performed there, possibly connected to the feathered serpent deity Quetzalcoatl. The site likely served as a hub for religious festivals and pilgrimages, drawing worshippers from distant regions. After the Spanish conquest in the early 1500s, large parts of the pyramid fell into disuse, and over time, it became overgrown. When the Spanish decided to erect a church, Nuestra Señora de los Remedios, on top of the hill, they unknowingly capped off an enormous pre-Hispanic monument, the Pyramid of the Niches at El Tajín. Situated in the Mexican state of Veracruz, the ancient city of El Tajín houses one of Mesoamerica's most eye-catching constructions, the Pyramid of the Niches. While not towering in height like some other pyramids, it captivates with its elegant design. The pyramid features several stepped levels, each lined with small recesses, referred to as niches, that, when counted, total 365. This number has led many to believe the structure had an astronomical or calendrical purpose, reflecting the solar year. El Tajin thrived between 600 and 1100 CE, possibly under Totonac influence or a related cultural group. The pyramid's unique arrangement of niches creates pronounced contrasts between light and shadow, especially at sunrise and sunset, suggesting deliberate architectural alignment with the sun's movement. Some scholars propose that priests or astronomers may have used the pyramid to track changes in seasonal cycles, guiding planting, harvests, and religious festivals. Further excavations have revealed that El Tajin contained numerous other pyramids and temples, plus over a dozen ball courts that suggest a tie to the Mesoamerican ball game played widely across the region. Buildings at El Tajin have elaborate relief carvings and motifs often tied to deities of fertility, war, and nature. The city's precise origins remain somewhat unclear, but it evidently served as a regional center for ceremonies, trade, and political power. The presence of advanced layout planning indicates a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and urban design. What makes the Pyramid of the Niches so special is its emblematic representation of time itself. Each niche may have signified a day, and at certain times of the year, the play of light in these recesses might have indicated important spiritual or agricultural moments. While the Totonac people left no direct accounts explaining the pyramid's exact function, the structure remains a stunning example of pre-Columbian ingenuity. Animal mummification along the Giza Plateau. The civilization that built Egypt's pyramids also left behind evidence of a profound spiritual connection with animals. While the Giza Plateau is most famous for its 3 large pyramids and the Sphinx, numerous tombs, tunnels, and smaller structures around the area have revealed caches of mummified animals. Among the most striking findings are crocodile statues containing actual mummified crocodiles inside, carefully wrapped in linen. Scholars see these as offerings to Sobek, the crocodile god, known for his protective and fertility aspects. Beyond crocodiles, Egyptians also mummified baboons, cats, ibises, snakes, and even scarab beetles. Each species was associated with a particular god or set of divine qualities. Cats were tied to Bastet, the goddess of home and fertility, while ibises recalled Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. Mummification of animals was part of a practice where worshippers would buy or dedicate these prepared creatures to place in temples, tombs, or specialized catacombs. By doing so, they believed they were honoring the gods or seeking favor in areas like health, prosperity, or a safe journey to the afterlife. Archaeologists working at Giza have unearthed entire labyrinths lined with thousands of animal mummies, sometimes stacked in groups or placed in niches. These findings shed light on local religious economy. Breeding and preparing animals for ritual sacrifice or dedication appears to have been a thriving industry. Embalming techniques for animals, while often not as elaborate as those for humans, still required skillful removal of organs, drying with natron, and careful wrapping. This devotion to sacred animals underscores how integrated religion was in daily Egyptian life. Even though larger structures like pyramids get most of the attention, the presence of these mummified creatures offers a more intimate glimpse of what people believed and practiced. The collapsed pyramid at Meidum. Travel south along the Nile, and you'll encounter Egypt's transitional step pyramid known as Meidum. Its silhouette appears like a tower rising from a mountain of rubble. In ancient times, Meidum might have been one of the first attempts to move from a step-style layout to a smooth-sided pyramid, a transition that culminated in the bent pyramid, and finally, the Red Pyramid at Dahshur, both attributed to Pharaoh Sneferu. The Meidum structure is often credited to him as well, though some sources mention Pharaoh Huni initiating it. Originally, Meidum likely had 7 or 8 steps. At some point, builders tried to fill in the steps and give it a well-defined slope covering those steps. Unfortunately, the outer layers collapsed, leaving only the inner core behind. Whether the collapse happened during construction or afterward is hotly debated. Some blame structural faults in the design. Perhaps the angle was too steep or poor stone fill was used. Others think the pressure from added layers compromised the foundation. Aside from the rubble that frames it, Madam offers valuable clues about pyramid evolution. Inside, the burial chamber sits above ground level, reached by a descending corridor that changes angle. The builders were experimenting with placing the chamber higher within the pyramid's body, a significant architectural shift that carried into later designs. Nearby mastabas, low rectangular tomb structures, feature remarkable artwork, including colorful reliefs of geese, providing a glimpse into Old Kingdom artistry. Despite its ruined appearance, Madam's importance can't be overlooked. It represents a bold step in pyramid construction, bridging the gap between the earlier step pyramids and the iconic Giza style. The collapse, whether accidental or gradual, may have influenced the subsequent building methods seen in Sneferu's other pyramids. Edits in ancient Egyptian wall painting. While pyramids offer insight into large-scale architectural achievements, wall paintings in temples and tombs reveal another side of ancient Egyptian genius, their mastery of art and the written word. For a long time, researchers thought that once a mural or inscription was created, the Egyptians left it untouched. However, more recent studies using new scanning methods indicate that these artworks were sometimes adjusted or repainted. This discovery shows that Egyptians were open to revising even their sacred art. At certain sites in Thebes and other ancient cities, portable X-ray fluorescence scanners have detected changes hidden underneath the visible paint. For example, an arm in one depiction appeared to have been moved or lengthened, suggesting the artist or a later priest decided to change the gesture for symbolic reasons. In other cases, symbols linked to certain deities were updated, repainted, or replaced over time. Changing political or religious views might have prompted these modifications. Perhaps a new king decided to remove references to a predecessor or wanted to emphasize a different god. Another remarkable case involves the depiction of Pharaoh Ramesses II. Some scans show that parts of his royal regalia were redone, possibly to reflect changing definitions of power during his long reign. The idea that Egyptian art was rigid and unchanging has dominated textbooks for decades, so these findings are significant. While ancient artisans worked under strict rules about proportions and symbolic gestures, small adjustments or complete overhauls happened more often than once assumed. Not only do these changes make the artwork richer in meaning, but they also hint at the complex interplay between religion, politics, and personal expression. By using non-invasive scanning technologies, experts can see the layers below the top surface without damaging the paintings. The Sphinx's missing nose. Among the most famous monuments in Egypt is the Great Sphinx of Giza, a vast statue with a lion's body and a human head. Yet anyone who has seen pictures of it notices that the face is missing its nose. Many legends surround how this nose was lost. One tale blames Napoleon's soldiers, claiming they shot it off with a cannon in the late 18th century. However, sketches of the Sphinx from well before Napoleon's time already depict it without a nose. Historical accounts point to a man named Muhammad Sa'im al-Dahar, a religious figure from the 14th century, who may have disfigured the Sphinx because he believed locals were worshipping the statue and offering gifts to it during times of drought or flood. Some say this act of iconoclasm, done to discourage what he saw as idolatry, was punished by execution. While the precise details are fuzzy, it seems likely the nose went missing long before modern warfare. There is also the factor of natural erosion. The Sphinx has weathered wind, sandstorms, and shifting desert conditions for thousands of years. Parts of its body show signs of steady wear, and the face, made from layers of limestone of different hardness, is especially vulnerable. So it's possible the nose suffered from a combination of human damage and natural decay, leaving the statue with its current appearance. In the bigger picture, the missing nose highlights how even the most iconic relics can be shaped by historical events and climate processes. Egypt's antiquities have faced vandalism, theft, and environmental threats for millennia. Kom Ombo's twin temple to Sobek and Horus, roughly 50 kilometers north of Aswan on the eastern bank of the Nile, lies Kom Ombo, a unique temple site that breaks from the norm. While many temples in ancient Egypt were dedicated to a single deity or a small pantheon, Kom Ombo stands out for its perfectly symmetrical layout, honoring two gods in equal measure. The southern half is devoted to Sobek, the crocodile god associated with power, fertility, and the Nile. The northern half belongs to Horus the Elder, the falcon-headed god of kingship and celestial protection. Archaeologists often highlight Kom Ombo's mirrored design. Corridors, hypostyle halls, sanctuaries, and even doorways are double, suggesting each group of worshippers had its own parallel space for ritual. This architectural choice makes Kom Ombo a fascinating testament to Egyptian beliefs about balance. The fearsome nature of crocodiles on one side and the protective might of the falcon on the other. Together, they symbolize the interplay of chaos and order, danger and safety. Carvings on the temple's walls depict Roman emperors offering to Egyptian gods, indicating the site's longevity and adaptation under Greek and Roman rule. Hieroglyphic panels show sets of medical instruments that hint at a function beyond worship. Kom Ombo may have served as a healing center. Nearby, archaeologists have uncovered crocodile mummies of various sizes, adding another layer of religious significance. These remains suggest that living crocodiles might have been revered at the temple, then mummified and kept in special chapels upon death. Though initially constructed during the Ptolemaic period, roughly 2nd century BCE, Kom Ombo underwent expansions and renovations under later rulers. Its location, along a bend in the Nile, made it accessible for travelers heading between Nubia and Upper Egypt. Today, Kom Ombo remains a popular tourist site, drawing visitors who come to see this dual-purpose sanctuary and to solve, or at least reflect upon, the poetic tension between the two gods that governed different parts of life. A 17th century bishop and a hidden fetus. Not all unexpected discoveries come from Egypt or Mesoamerica. In Sweden, a shocking find emerged from the coffin of Bishop Peter Winstrup, who died in 1679. His remains were already remarkable because they were naturally mummified. Kept in a stable environment at Lund Cathedral, Winstrup's body showed minimal decay. But when researchers performed modern imaging in 2015, they found something else inside the coffin: the tiny remains of a fetus tucked beneath his legs. DNA analysis indicated that the fetus was likely related to Winstrup, perhaps a grandchild. It appears that the child, who may have died before or shortly after birth, was placed with the bishop for burial, possibly long after he was first laid to rest. Placing an unbaptized infant in consecrated ground might have been frowned upon at the time, so the baby's remains were hidden within the bishop's coffin in hopes of securing a holy burial. This macabre detail illuminates the emotional struggles of families in earlier centuries and rounds out our view of historical burial custom. The coffin itself revealed other insights. Winstrup was laid on a bed of hops, herbs known for their drying and preservative qualities. Unlike Egyptian mummification, which included organ removal and natron treatments, Winstrup's body endured thanks to the stable microclimate and those naturally drying materials. Studies found that he suffered from various ailments, including probable tuberculosis. While the practice of burying a secret fetus alongside a prominent clergyman remains rare, this hidden detail reminds us that burial rites in different places and eras reflect a deep concern for both spiritual and emotional needs. The bishop's coffin provides an unexpected lens into how families navigated religious rules and personal tragedy. It also underscores that discoveries of human remains, whether from ancient Egypt or 17th century Europe, can spark cultural and ethical discussions about how we interpret the past. Userkaf's often ignored pyramid in Saqqara. The name Userkaf may not resonate like Khufu or Ramses, but this early 5th dynasty pharaoh played a crucial role in shaping Egypt's religious future. His pyramid complex in Saqqara, located not far from the legendary step pyramid of Giza, reflects a period when solar worship gained new momentum. While smaller than its 4th dynasty predecessors, Userkaf's pyramid served as a marker of changing power structures and theological emphasis. Roughly dated to around 2490 BCE, the Pyramid of Userkaf stands at only about 49 meters. Erosion and the dismantling of outer stones for future building projects have left it in a rather decrepit state. Yet the site's layout still offers hints of its glory day. Interestingly, the mortuary temple attaches to the south side rather than the usual east, which some historians interpret as a unique nod to solar alignment or a shift in cult practices. Relief sculptures found in the precincts show the king's devotion to Ra, the principal sun god of Heliopolis, reinforcing the narrative that the 5th dynasty accentuated solar worship even more than earlier times. Userkaf's complex includes a causeway and a fragmentary valley temple, features standard for kings' complexes of the Old Kingdom. Yet evidence of finishing touches is scarce, possibly suggesting that the king died before everything was completed. The site also may have been used or modified during later dynasties. Reused blocks sometimes bear inscriptions of succeeding rulers who adapted old monuments to new purposes. Although overshadowed by the massive tombs at Giza, Userkaf's pyramid underscores the diversity of Old Kingdom burial practices. It shows that royals did not always follow the same mold, especially as new religious ideas arose. Archaeologists who have worked there emphasize how each Egyptian dynasty revisited earlier sites, building layers of history that complicate our ability to see a single method for constructing or decorating pyramids. Thanks for watching another episode. While you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.